philanthropy is just one part of a complex picture of financing through which nonprofits get their work done. And that's part of the problem as well as the solution, is that, you know, put yourself in the seat of a nonprofit manager who gets funds from 5 or 6 different sources, you know, from government, from earning some income through charging fees, might have an endowment and have to, you know, manage investments, and then, you know, 5 or 6 or 10 donors, and they're all asking for, you know, for different things.
I've been a nonprofit administrator all my life. Worked with youth organizations and ex-offender organizations, community development organizations, and now theater. You know, so I've been with Ex-A-Theater since the beginning, 26 years ago, and I take care of paperwork and administrative kind of stuff, and also physical things. Well, in a small theater, we have three full-time staff. So, and we do 650 performances a year. So everybody does some of everything. You know, everybody cleans the toilets, everybody does the paperwork, everybody does the emails. We all do something. That's how it works at the small theater level.
And along those lines, David, does someone have to be Catholic to either volunteer or work there?
No, actually no. Probably, I would say probably we have about 150 staff roughly in our organization. I would say more than half of them are non-Catholic. So we really appreciate the fact that our staff is diverse, because the people we serve are diverse. We'll serve. The only requirement for somebody in need for us is that they're in need. That's the only question that we ask. It doesn't matter what faith you are. In fact, most of the time we don't even know. We don't care.
I think it's important, the volunteers that we have, that's a philanthropy unto itself. Our Fringe Festival would not exist if we didn't have 100 volunteers to support it. Our theater itself, I mean, I don't have money to pay box office people. My house managers work for a very minimal amount of stuff. So really that contribution from the people invested in the place. But the volunteers, I think, are amazing.
Welcome to East 10th Children Youth Center. We have a very low socioeconomic status in the area, and because of that, a lot of at-risk youth. And along with that comes a high rate of crime, unfortunately. So the children we care for are labeled already from the start at risk, and low income and everything that comes along with that. So we set out to open the youth center. This is our infant room. Hi, Miss Shante. And these are our babies. They're what keep us motivated in doing what we do every day. In this room, we have 2 teachers and up to 8 children in the classroom. And these guys and their little faces are why we're here. And this is Miss Shante, one of our caregiver. She's been with us for 3-4 years. Something wonderful about East 10th is that typically there's a lot of high turnover in the child care field. However, at East 10th, we seem to be able to hold on to our caregivers for a long period of time. They stick with us, and I think that says a lot about the organization and the kids that we care for.
We do get involved, and I personally will testify in things at the state level and even the federal level to talk about the realities of those issues, because we're dealing with people in their messy lives and all those circumstances. But it's just part of what we do. Advocacy is one of the parts of our mission too.
Well, my first inclination is say paperwork. I mean, a lot of times you have small organizations with limited amount of staff, and the demands made by some of the paperwork and some of the bureaucracy are just overwhelming. So it keeps some people from applying. It keeps some people spending time doing that. I mean, I understand the accountability issue, and I understand the, you know, you're hundreds of people out there asking you for money, and somehow you have to understand who they are. Sending in a piece of paper is one way. I think if philanthropists could come and see the work, that would be great.
I would say that our biggest challenge is funding. So it's always a struggle. We're a very small nonprofit. We are in a little niche. And so it's hard to find funding for organizations like us.
I in part got into grant making because the notion of directing money towards projects that would do good things seemed like, you know, a great job to have, and it is. Turns out there was a grant maker, you say no to people far more often than you say yes, and you're having a lot more of those kind of conversations. I think it's important for grantees to perceive the Community Foundation as an asset to their work. You can't get away from the fact, though, that the nature of the relationship between funder and grantee is they really want funding for what they're doing, and I, as the grant maker, am in some way a gatekeeper to that. Because we can't say yes to everybody, because we're in this business of saying yes and no, that's going to in part define the relationship.
What motivates and drives you guys to work for this organization? When you think of the myriad of career choices and jobs out there, what has called you guys to work for this cause?
Well, no, I didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer, but actually I do have.
Okay.
I actually have a journalism background. So, in fact, prior to becoming director of the Lupus Foundation, I was the director of a national journalism organization. But even before that, I've always wanted to volunteer for community-based organizations because I felt that, nothing's more fulfilling than be able to work in an organization that provides services to the underserved communities. And so that has always been sort of my motivation for working in the nonprofit sector. Prior to the Lupus Foundation, I've worked for organizations like, or organizations that deal with HIV and AIDS, with cancer, domestic violence, immigration, and things like that. And, nothing could make me happy at the end of the day than think about the patients that you have helped throughout the day.
What about you, Spandan?
Well, three things. One is I've actually always worked for nonprofits. So I've had a nonprofit background and I like the nonprofit organizational structure. And the best way I can describe it is it's more like a concentric circle than a pyramid, which is more the corporate structure. Right? And I like the fact, especially in a small organization, everybody knows everybody, and that's the organizational basis of it. Secondly, Lupus specifically, is I've always been kind of I always root for the underdog, and hardly anybody knows about lupus, so why not see what we can do about that? And the other thing is I'm in fund development for one reason, which is I love being with people, talking to people. So I'm very much of an extroverted person in that sense. So that's pretty much, that's coming together right here.
It's a wonderful career. It's you're helping people make a difference. You are making a difference. So that part of it is, I hope, never goes away.